Welcome to Emotional Resilience, Living with the Fruit of the Spirit. I'm your host and author, Ron Ovitt. Today we're in Lesson 25. We're going to continue our series on emotional regulation. We started off, we talked about focused attention, how important that is that we can stop and be able to focus. And so we did different practices, and I hope you are. I hope you're practicing that. Get the lessons. If you don't have the lessons, you can contact me, Ron at empowerministry.org. That's Ron at empowerministry.org, and I'll be happy to send them to you. But it's important that you read the lessons and then you practice. So we started with focused attention, and then we went into relaxation. I've had a lot of comments in the past about the relaxation. People are really enjoying that, and I hope that we're learning to relax. Today, Lesson 25 is MindSkills Part 3, Breathing. Now, some of it's going to be redundant because in focused attention, we talked about focusing on our breathing. One of the best techniques was to feel the air go in through your nostrils, feel it coming out through your lips, and you want to focus on that. And when your mind wanders, you simply say, my mind is wandered. Come back to breath. You could say breath, whatever, peace, but you come back, and it's that noticing that you went off track, not berating yourself, but just calmly, compassionately saying, let's get back, and coming back. That trains the mind to stay away from distraction, to come back from distraction. And then in relaxation, we talked about relaxing breath. So some of it's going to be redundant, but that's okay, because we need to practice. A lot of this isn't normal. Most of us breathe very shallow. We're breathing all the time, obviously, but it's not these deep, relaxing breaths. Instead, it's shallow, and that kind of imitates almost the kind of breathing we do when we're afraid. It turns on that sympathetic nervous system, which can lead us to fight, flight, or freeze. And so a lot of times it signals that, and we get into that hypervigilance. And by learning to breathe properly here, learning to do some relaxing breaths, learning to do it throughout the day, this will help, not just for the moment, but it will help us have a repertoire now at our fingertips, if you will, that we can use it all the time. I use it every day. If I feel myself getting too tense, again, that's part of that focused attention. That's part of that emotional recognition, because remember, emotions mean to move. They come in, they're our senses, right? We feel it in our body. And so as we notice that we're tightened, and that's why it's so important. I hope in the relaxing exercises that you did when we did a body scan, that you can start to tell when you're not relaxed. You can tell when your shoulders are up or your face is kind of scrunched, and you can relax it. And breathing can be that passageway. It can be that signal. And as you exhale, you can just breathe right down the body. And so it's a great way to work with the autonomic nervous system. When we get into sympathetic nervous system, we can get into that's the gas pedal, we can get into the brakes by putting on the parasympathetic nervous system. And how do we do that? By breathing. And so it's an exciting exercise for us. The optimal way to breathe is what they call 6 seconds. And so you want to do 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. And that basically comes to a 5 count. 5 count in, 5 count out. And that gets us the oxygen we need. It helps us relax. It gets us out of that emergency mode. When we're walking around and we're breathing shallow and we're hypervigilant, it plays havoc on our body. It's a large part of why we have so many psychosomatic illnesses, including high blood pressure, headaches, TMJ, muscle tension, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, all the mental chatter is going on a lot of times, sleeping disorders. A lot of this is because we don't know how to relax. It's this continuous stress. And where does that stress come from? A lot of it comes from our thinking. It comes from our thinking. It comes from those beliefs that we have and the consequences that we fear. You know, if you felt that you're damaged goods, that you have to please everyone, that if you do something wrong, you're going to be hated, maybe even annihilated, then you're going to be very careful. I used to wake up every morning thinking, okay, what am I going to do right today? You know, or how am I going to keep from getting in trouble? Now, can you imagine going to school that way? Or going to anything like that? I mean, it's this hypervigilance. I felt like there was a predator in the room. And you know, I'm not alone. As I've worked through the years, I found so many people that are in this state of hypervigilance. And breathing can help us create a new habit. You know, anxiety is a habit. Hypervigilance is a habit. And we can break those habits. And so we want today, it won't be a long lesson, I don't think, you know, but we want today to just focus on the breathing, different kinds of breathings that we can start to build our repertoire. So when we're going to breathe, then we want to remember certain things, right? We want to remember to, you know, sit up straight. Now, if you can't sit in a chair because of, it's sore, you can't do it, then you can lay on a floor. But remember, this isn't a sleeping exercise, right? It's a breathing exercise. And so you want to stay awake and focus on the breath. So sitting up, you know, if you want, remember, we want to breathe from the belly. You know, we want to breathe from the belly. And we want to be able to just focus on the flow of the air going through the nostrils, coming out the breath. So let's go ahead and we'll start with exercise number 1. So in our basic breathing exercise, we want to be able to sit up straight, okay? And you want to relax. You know, if your shoulders are up here, relax them, right? In fact, you may just want to practice one of the quick body scan. By now, if you've been practicing, you can pretty well get your body relaxed. So a lot of times I'll just close my eyes and I'll take a breath. And on the exhale, see, as soon as I breathe, I can feel my face come down, my shoulders come down, you know, kind of lean back in the chair. I can feel and just relax, okay? So practice that. That's important, that you can just relax the body on command. You want these things to become a habit. You want them to become something that you can easily call upon. So what I was talking about is, remember when we talked about belly breathing, and one way just to make sure is you kind of put your fingers like this, and when you breathe in, you follow the contour and it kind of expands, and when you breathe out, now, you don't have to do that in this exercise, but it's good to check that and see, okay, just to remind you. And so hands, if you want, on the lap, and then and you can close your eyes, and we're going to do a 5 count. 5 count in, then a 5 count out. So, ready? Begin. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. How'd that feel? Did you just breathe in from the chest, or was the belly moving? Let's try it one more time, okay? Let's see. If you need to put your hands on there, do it, but you can do it either way. Ready? Breathe in. Breathe out. And that's our basic breathing, right? And that's the exercise 1. Now, I also talk about 4 times 5, right? So you want to have a 5 count 4 times a day, and just to be able to practice. And you say, well, when should I do it? Well, what's some convenient times that you do, right? When you get up, you know, you can just do it 4 times. So it's 4 times 5 times 4. So you want 4 times a day to do a 5 count 4 times. And so when you first get up, you can breathe 4 times, right? And what's that going to take? Maybe 45 seconds, a minute? And then when else? Well, when you have lunch. You have your lunch break. How about when you come home just before or after dinner? And then before you go to bed. There's 4 times that are very easy to remember. Now, you may want to take another 4 times. For example, when you get to work, when you take your break, when you take lunch, when you take your afternoon break, whatever. The point is you want to start making this a trait, right? You want to start making it something that becomes a reflex where you can do it even without thinking. And so you want to practice your breathing. Here's another important fact about breathing this way. There's a whole thing called coherent breathing, and it has to do with heart rate variability. You'll probably hear about this more and more. HRV, heart rate variability, is one of the most important measures of heart health, but it's not talked about that much. There's been much study on it, though, and breathing is a very important part of it. It regulates that sympathetic nervous system, which helps heart rate variability. It's interesting. Heart rate is the number of times your heart beats per minute, but heart rate variability is the measurement of the variation in the intervals between the heartbeat. Your heart rate is measured by counting your pulse. Your heart rate variability is measured by the ECGs and the EKG tests that record the electrical activity in your heart. Now you think your heart should beat a rhythm, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But science has proved that a constant beat like that really isn't healthy. What you want to be able is to go in and out of heartbeats, right? So when you're sitting reading, your heart should be at 1 rate. But what if something, someone you love was in the other room and you heard them fall? Well, you'd get up real quick and you'd run over there. Well, your heart needs to beat differently when you're running somewhere than it does when you're sitting. And if your heart is healthy, it's able to do that. That's due to the heart rate variability. And so what they've done is that they found that coherent breathing is basically a thing that really helps the heart get the kind of oxygen it needs and allows it to be healthy. And what they found is that that is usually a 5 count in and a 5 count out. So what we've been practicing is really healthy for your heart. Now, that's for the average size person. If you're taller or bigger, like 6'3", 6'4", you weigh more, you can do, different kinds. So you could probably look that up and find out what kind of breathing you should do. But for most of us, it's going to be a 5 count in and a 5 count out. Well, let's move on now to exercise 2. The next exercise is really a variation on the same one. Now, if you're not able to do a 5 count at this point, you can do a 3 count or a 4 count. It doesn't matter. You can go ahead and do that. I like to do the 5 count because of the heart rate variability. But whatever count you do, you want to be able to breathe from the belly. Well, I like the next exercise I call spice it up, and that is you can get in somewhat of a meditative state. And that is you can use different words. When you inhale, you think of the word that you want to meditate on. And when you exhale, you meditate on it. Now, some people would think, well, gee, shouldn't I say it on the exhale? You could, but what I find is that when I, for example, breathe in and I say peace, I'm telling my brain to be peaceful. And when I exhale, I'm telling my body to exercise it, to do it. If I say peace on the exhale and I'm not peaceful, the body isn't buying it. So this is allowing my mind then to work with my body to create what I'm saying. So for example, if God's peace, and I'm saying on the inhale, then as I exhale, I go ahead and express it in my body. I breathe it out, I express it. So let's try that for a moment. Let's try peace, okay? So go ahead and close your eyes, get the good posture, hands on your thing, and so I'll do it out loud and you do the thinking, okay? So your eyes are shut, and so breathe in, peace. Breathe out. Breathe in the peace of God. Breathe out. Breathe in peace. Breathe out. Now you can use any phrase you want, but this is an opportunity to kind of use your brain as well as your breathing to cause the body to relax and to express that kind of thing. It could be that God is good, right? It could be I'm full of joy. It can be all kinds of things, fruit of the Spirit, whatever it is that you want to say. But I recommend that you go ahead and do that as you exhale. Now the next exercise is interesting. I call it the vibrating, if you will, breath. And this is used to really get us to relax if we're really in a hypervigilant type mode. I've done this in the past when I'm very nervous about something and I'm feeling what's going on, and even when I'm driving. But it's where we put the lips together and we, not two together, but we're making a kind of noise. What we found is that in the intestines, there are these finger-like hairs in the intestines, and when we breathe like this, it causes them to relax. We have a lot of neural cells, type cells in the gut. And when we get upset, a lot of times we feel it in the gut, don't we? I have a nervous stomach, I got butterflies. Well, this kind of thing works with that, and it calms us down. Now, ironically, I first learned this when I was young. I think I was in probably 8th grade, and we were doing a concert. I sang all during my childhood and adolescence, and they asked me to do a solo. Well, I usually like to go ahead and blend with others. I wasn't real comfortable doing a solo, although I had a good voice. So I was real nervous. And I remember I needed to use the lavatory. And so when I went in there, before we went to sing, I was in the metal stall, if you will. And I decided to practice, and so a little bit la 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 la. And when I hit that la, that vibrating between the echo around the metal stall there, all of a sudden there's this vibrating going on, and I remember how good it felt. And so I did it again, oh, that kind of thing. And I remember how that felt so relaxing. Well, I forgot about that. It wasn't until decades later when I'm reading Dr. Peter Levine and he recommends this kind of exercise. I said, well, man, I found that out decades ago. And the fact is it can cause us to relax. So what I want you to do is put your hands down here. And so let's breathe in. And when we breathe out, we're doing a kind of get that vibrating going. Okay, so let's try that. Ready? Breathe in. Breathe out. Now, I know it may seem funny, but let's do it again. Could you feel it in your gut a little bit? You certainly could probably feel it around the lips, but relax and let's try it again. Breathe in and breathe out. I can't hear you. Come on, you can do better. It's more like a voo, right? A voo. If you practice that, you're going to find that you're just going to be able to relax. It's going to feel comfortable, especially when you're that hypervigilant. You'll find that this is going to be a great way to relax. So that last one was a calming, vibrating breath. This is what I call the relaxing breath. Now you say, Ron, all of it's relaxing. I know, but we're going to be a little more intentional this time. Have you ever been on a roller coaster? Have you ever, maybe you haven't, but maybe you've watched people do it. And what do? They like to raise their hands sometimes, right? And so when they're coming down, they're going, whoa, and then when they come down, whoa, right? Well, let's try that for a minute. I want you to get real excited and like that. Breathe in, and then when I say down, breathe down. Okay, this is an experiment. Ready? Breathe in. Breathe down. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe down. Okay, now you notice the gasp, right? That turns on the sympathetic nervous system. And so how many of you, I wonder, slowed it down when you came down? Why? Because that's the relaxing part. You don't just go and then and relax, right? Relaxing takes a little longer, and it's a natural response. And so in this breath, what we're trying to do is breathe in for 5 and breathe out for 10. And so it's a 1-to-2 ratio. If you're breathing in for 3, you breathe out for 6. If you breathe in for 4, you breathe out for 8. And so in this case, we'll do a 5 count. But it's in that breathing out that's sort of like that, right, calming down. So let's do that. Ready? Close your eyes if you will. Breathe in. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This time I won't count. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Now we can do a variation on this. Some people recommend that you hold it at the top. So when you breathe in, you hold it, and then you breathe out. Now, if the breathing in is 5, and the breathing out is 2 times that, 10, the holding it is 1.5. And I don't want to get into math here, but like a 6 or a 7. So just a little bit more than what you're breathing in. So a 3 could be a 5, right, or a 4. So you want to hold it that long, and then you want to breathe out, okay? So let's try it, and I'll count this time, and then we'll try it again without me counting, okay? So go ahead, relax. If you want, blow out first. You ready? Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's do a 3 count this time in case that was a little difficult, okay? And if you're good at the 5, 3 won't hurt you. If you've been struggling, let's do a 3 where you can get the feel of it, okay? Breathe in. 2, 3, hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Okay, you can open your eyes. So I prefer myself just the breathing in and the breathing out because I'm trying to relax. But some people like the exercise of holding it too, so whatever preference. What I encourage you to do is try all the different exercises and then find the ones you really like and become very good at it, okay? So we have one more exercise to go. This last exercise is where we're communicating between our heart, our gut, and our brain. We obviously have neuronal cells, brain cells in our brain, right? But we have many around our heart. We have a lot more around our gut. And so Dr. Peter Levine, who's written a lot on this kind of exercise, recommends that we take our right hand and we put it on our heart. Now, I got to be careful with the microphone, but you can put it on your heart. Then you take your other hand and you put it on your gut. And so what you want to do, you can feel the warmth probably from your hands, but you want to basically just focus on feeling the connection between your heart and your gut, and you do that as you breathe. And so we're going to do the relaxing breath. We'll do 5 in and 10 out, and just see if you can just feel a calmness in the connection, if you can, between your heart and your gut. So let's close our eyes, sit up straight, shoulders back, ready? Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. You can open your eyes. Now, if nothing else, it helps you sense whether you're breathing from your belly or not, but it's also just a nice way to calm down. You know, you can do it with the relaxing breath. It's a kind of almost like a grounding. Now, the other one, he says, is to keep your right hand on your heart and then put the other on your head. And so the connection between your heart and your head. So let's try that. Ready? Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. One more time. Breathe in. Breathe out. So that completes the exercises we're going to do today. And I just encourage you now to look over the last couple lessons. Learn to have that focused attention. Are you practicing listening for 3 things? Are you looking, touching things and feeling the contrasts? You know, are you looking at the space between things? You know, different things that you just want to learn to focus. Why? Where you can focus on how your body feels. How's your body feel? Are you catching yourself being tense? Are you being able to relax the body? Are you doing your body scan? And then are you today, we've introduced the breathing, and we've kind of done it already, but are you practicing the breathing? Why are we doing this? Because we want to learn to regulate our emotions. We want to be able to return to joy. We want to stop, and it could be pause and plan. We want to bring the prefrontal cortex back online. And so we need to be aware, right? Emotional recognition when we're tense, when we're upset, we're in fight and flight. We breathe, And it puts the brakes on. It puts the brakes on on the sympathetic by putting the brakes on the parasympathetic. And what's it do? It causes us to relax. And when we do that, our limbic area now is able to connect with our prefrontal cortex. And we're able then to calm down, to think what's next. We can pause, plan, do whatever. And then we're going to learn how to emotionally relearn what's bothering us in the first place. And you may know already some of the things that are, and so you can correct it. You're stopped, you're breathing, and so you can use some of the scriptures. I will be in perfect peace as God, as I keep my mind on God. Or God loves me. His mercies never fail. I can do this. There's all kinds of affirmations you can use when you're breathing. So we combine them, and it helps us to relax. It puts us in the mode where we can start using our prefrontal cortex again, and we can move on. So practice, practice, practice. And I think that God's going to bless you as you learn these simple techniques and take control of our hypervigilance.